Now it is time to talk with Gretchen Carlson, as I've been promising today. She is, of course, the host of Getting Real, the host of the Real Story with Gretchen Carlson every single day on Fox and has been since September 30th of 2013. She is the author of Getting Real, her brand new memoir. Gretchen, welcome. It's great to have you on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, I've been looking forward to talking to you. I borderline bothered airplane people next to me telling them about you as I read through Getting Real, because I kept saying, musical prodigies don't write memoirs. Miss Americas don't write bestsellers with so many surprises. Miss Americas don't come from Stanford or Oxford. They don't do reporting from the Cleveland Browns dog pound or talk to their husbands for the first time on the Cleveland Browns dog pound bus. I mean, I have a long list here, and I've always known you as a reporter. I didn't know you were Miss America. Honestly, I got to confess to the audience, you've always just been the CBS and then the Fox reporter to me.
Well, thank you. I actually take that as a badge of honor.
Well, but thus it made, I didn't know what I was getting into when I started the book, and I was just enthralled, and I'll say at the beginning, every junior high and high school girl, especially, should read this book. And I think you're getting that a lot, aren't you?
Thank you so much for saying that, Hugh. It means a lot. That was the whole reason why I wrote this book, and I just hope to inspire young girls to know that the American dream is still alive and well. The only thing is you have to work really hard to get it.
And there will be, I got to tell people what we're going to talk about in this hour. We're going to talk about the burden of great talent if you're a prodigy. We're going to talk about what it means to be the fat kid and to be over. We're going to talk about sexual harassment, men and women in the news business, infertility. We're going to talk about infant illness of a serious nature. You've been through a lot, Gretchen Carlson, that a lot of people are just going to have heard a little bit of their own lives mentioned there.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking about all the issues, because really the whole point of writing the book was, I've had some of these achievements, but along the way I've had a lot of struggles and failures. And sometimes people look at national radio hosts or national TV hosts and they think, wow, they've really had the easy road. And I haven't. You know, I really haven't, and I wanted to share some of those experiences in a very candid way. And the reason I wanted to do that was because I wanted to inspire people that if a fat little girl from Minnesota who happened to play a mean violin could end up going to Stanford and become Miss America and have her own TV show, if I can do it, you can do it too.
And you will fall on your butt occasionally. I heard Julie Andrews give my son's commencement address, and she told the 22,000 people at the University of Colorado, you will be knocked on your butt someday when your vocal cords were hurt, and you're going to have to make a choice to get up. You got fired from Cleveland. And, you know, that when I stopped, I said, boy, when you lose the local gig in Cleveland, you're wondering whether or not you're going to be back in the business. And here you are with a national show every day.
Yeah, well, that is certainly the truth about picking yourself back up. Toughest year of my life. Add to that I had only been married for 1 week when that happened. Also add to that story that the general manager, when he fired me, told me that I would be just fine now that I had a husband. Which was, I didn't quite remember husbands hearing that about wives. But anyway, it was really, really a difficult time, and I had to dig so deep. Being married in and of itself for the first year is a tough adjustment. And here I was with, no self-identity, little self-esteem, and my poor husband was trying to be so helpful, saying, well, honey, I know you can be anything you want to be. Why don't you try a new career? And I was like, no, I've given 10 years of my life already to this.
I'm a news person. Yep.
Yeah, I'm a news person. But here's the thing. I also knew, Hugh, that I had to leave. I had to move from Cleveland to get another job. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm newly married. I'm fired. And for me to get another job, I'm going to have to leave my husband again, which is technically what happened a year later.
Yeah.
I mean, not leave him physically as far as not being married, but, moving to Dallas. And then we commuted for our second year of marriage. So.
And we'll tell people about that when we get there. I want to cover it in a little bit of order so that people don't get confused. But let's start with Sparkles. I love that. I can't say your grandpa. Heilingren?
Yeah. Oh, woo, you got it.
Okay. He was a pastor who grew a church from 850 to 8,500. He was born in far-off Vasa, Minnesota. Yeah. And you grew up in a snow globe.
My little town was just like a snow globe. In fact, here's another little piece of trivia. My hometown is Lake Wobegon.
Yes.
It's where Garrison Keillor also grew up.
It's amazing.
I know. And so it's also the Halloween capital of the world, just in case you want to visit.
I'm not sure who put the picture in of the pumpkin. That was very brave of you.
Yes, I am in a pumpkin suit. Buy the book to see it. But anyway, no, you know what? My hometown was idyllic. It was back in the good old days when, nobody locked their doors, and the whole Minnesota Nice thing. It's still true, but it was really true back then. And my grandfather was the minister of the Lutheran Church, and not only did I learn my religious foundation from him, but I learned perseverance. My grandfather grew up on a dirt floor, the only one of 5 children to go past the 7th grade. He decided to dedicate his life to the Lord. He became a minister. And he grew that church from 850, as you said, to 8,500, making it the second largest Lutheran church in America. If that's not perseverance, I don't know what is.
And all along, you spend a lot of time with him, and he's a terrific pulpit presence. And that must teach you something about performance.
Completely. I used to, when I used to sit in the pew watching him, I used to literally think of him as a rock star. I was like, wow, this is so cool. My grandpa's on stage.
And so when you write you were born a ham, you actually grew up watching a ham.
I did. Yeah. And he also taught me a sense of humor, because his favorite TV show, even as a minister, was Benny Hill.
Yes, that is unusual. Yep. That is unusual. Now, I don't know if you saw this. Let me go back. Maine Motors. You are definitely privileged because there had to be some money in Maine Motors, because you're going to the Aspen Institute in the summertime, and you're traveling with the family to Israel on mission trips and in Germany and places like that. So Maine Motors must have sold a few cars in Anoka. Am I saying Anoka correctly?
You are. David Letterman said it, Anaka, like the breath spray, so you one-upped him. Listen, my family business has been in existence since 1917, and my grandfather went bankrupt 3 times before starting the car business, so that's on the other side of my family. So, yes, we have had this family business, but I don't know if you recall the 70s and the oil crisis.
Oh, yeah.
There were plenty of times when the business almost went under. It was a tremendous amount of hard work. My dad went back to work after dinner every single night. And, by the way, my parents lost their dealership a couple of years ago when President Obama and General Motors decided to axe private companies.
But she fought. They fought, and I love that chapter. They battled back and got their dealership back.
They did. My mom said, "Over my dead body, will I not have this business anymore?" And she went and became best friends with every politician. She lobbied on Capitol Hill, and darn if she did not get it back.
I think she ought to run for governor of Minnesota. How's she doing?
You know what? My mom is she's always been my idol and my role model. She's the CEO of the company at 74 years old, and she couldn't be happier.
She could still be governor of Minnesota. Now, we'll come back to her, because I have a whole set of questions about her. But I want to go to the fact that you developed you had this prodigy talent with the violin, yeah. And as soon as they put it in your hands, you knew.
I did. I actually wanted to play the piano, and the neighborhood piano teacher said, "Oh, she'll never be any good because her hands are way too small." And so it was a total fluke that I started playing the violin, and it just clicked right away. And so the local orchestra teacher, after about 3 months, he was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do with this kid." So then he passed me off to his daughter, who actually taught violin, and after about a year, she was like, "I don't know what to do with this kid." So I ended up going to audition for some pretty famous violinists in Minneapolis, and ended up with the best teacher in all of the Midwest. And that's when it really started to flourish, and I was practicing 3 to 4 hours a day, and I guess my parents really knew. I was just a kid, but I guess they knew that this was something that was going to be a pretty serious thing.
Well, if you're playing with Isaac Stern at 10, that's a giveaway. Here's a paragraph on page 35. Listen to the amount of knowledge that Gretchen Carlson is accumulating and self-awareness. Over the months and years to come, Mary, her teacher, took me through a classical training repertoire, beginning with the easiest, Bach, Vivaldi, then on to Handel and Mozart and Mendelssohn, and eventually to Tchaikovsky, Brahms, and Beethoven. Beethoven wasn't hard because of the notes, but because of the interpretation. You had to be a mature player to interpret Beethoven. Standing in Mary's cramped music room with my violin pressed against my chin and my fingers dancing over the notes, I was transported into another world, one where I wasn't a little kid and a performer who could bring the most wonderful melodies to life. It was pure joy. The ability to play music gave me a depth well beyond my years. At 7 years old, I lacked the vocabulary to express my feelings, but music played a rich vocabulary at my disposal every day. I remember thinking, this is mine, this beauty belongs to me, and nothing can change it. Big emotions for a little girl. When I read that, I said to myself, what an advantage, what an education for a 7-year-old to be having.
Yeah. Actually, when you read that, it makes me really emotional to listen to you say that, because it was such a wonderful experience, and yet a lot of it was so solitary. because nobody really understood me. I mean, other than my parents and my teachers. But it's so weird when you're a little kid and you just want to fit in. And I was kind of known as the violin girl, and I almost felt ashamed walking home from school carrying my case, which sounds so crazy. But I also felt such great joy, because when you put time into something and you get better, wow, that's a great life lesson for all kids.
I'll be right back with Gretchen Carlson, her book.